Ang aircraft carrier na to ay World War II USS Lexington. Parating naka-display dito yan sa Charleston Harbor dito sa South Carolina. Ngayon, ngayon ay nasa Charleston Harbor na tayo papuntang Fort Sumter which is only 15 minutes away. Para ito ang Charleston Harbor na tayo. So makikita niyo sa kaliwa ay tapos nasa Fort Sumter na tayo. Pakinggan natin ang Ranger.
President James Madison was obviously not happy about this, so he decides to have a series of forts built along our coastlines to better defend our country. These forts are part of the third system of coastal defense. These forts are built from Maine down the Atlantic coast through the Gulf of Mexico to in the San Francisco Bay. But Fort Sumter was built here in this precise location because, much like today, Charleston's a major shipping port. And just on the other side of this wall is the main shipping channel. Now, Cannon Range in the early 1800s was roughly 1.25 miles. Fort Moultrie on Sullivan's Island, which is on the other side of the channel, is about 1 mile away. So, if any foreign invasion is going to come in to try and attack the city, they'll be sailing right between these two forts, right in their range of fire, thus making the city safer. So they started construction on this island in 1829. And yes, you heard me right, they started construction on this island. They brought tons and tons of granite down from New England to build this island. It took about 10 years because the shoal or submerged sandbar that this is built upon was 10 feet below the surface at low tide. Once the island itself was constructed, they started building the fort. The design and skilled labor was done by the Army Corps of Engineers. All other labor was used in slave labor, and that was including the building of the island. But also these bricks were made on many local plantations, again handmade by enslaved people. And if you look carefully at some of our bricks, you might notice fingerprints, indentations in them. And if you find them, you notice that they're very small, because it was dominantly women and children who made these bricks. By the time 1860 rolls around, Fort Sumter is about 90% complete. If you look at our flagpole, there's a red line on it indicating the height of the outside walls. Sorry guys, over here you're at a bad angle. But that's how tall the fort was then. But a few very important things happened in the latter. Happy about this for a variety of reasons, but one of them, he was not even on the ballot as an option in the southern states, yet he still won the election. South Carolina was also the first of 7 states to secede, and that happened on December 20th, 1860. At the time of their secession, there's still 4 federal forts and 1 Union garrison down here in the Charleston Harbor. Major Robert Anderson and his garrison of 85 were originally headquartered over at Fort Moultrie. And although that's a great fort to defend against a naval attack, it's not necessarily the best to defend against a land attack. For example, sometimes cows would come and graze in their parade ground. If a cow could come in easily, surely an enemy could. So, under the cover of darkness, December 26, 1860, Anderson and his men left Fort Moultrie and came here to Fort Sumter. When they get out here, they raised a large garrison flag over the fort, 20 by 36 feet. Now, could you see this flag flying from a good distance away? Imagine a larger one, and how the people in Charleston felt that not even a week after they seceded, they saw that flag flying. Gun salute to lower the flag, but on the 47th shot, something went wrong with one of the cannons, and the first death of the war occurred after the battle. That gentleman's name is Private Daniel Howe. As a result of his death, the 100-gun salute turned to 50-gun salute. Anderson has been left as the Confederate fort for pretty much the rest of the war. Shortly after this, Union forces are trying to gain control of Sea Islands in South Carolina, starting down the Beaufort Hilton Head area, making their way up here to Charleston. July of 1863, an infamous battle occurs over in Morris Island that many of you have heard of, or maybe even watched the movie that's based upon these events. That movie is called Glory. That happened, again, in July 1863, although that battle did not result in Union victory. Shortly after, Union forces did gain control of Morris Island, which followed a roughly 22-month siege upon Fort Sumter, trying to recapture it, but to no avail. That's actually where a lot of the destruction we see here today comes from. The upper 2 levels of the fort were decimated, protecting what we still have today, creating like an earthenwork. But we also have 3 projectiles still embedded into this wall. It's crazy to think that all those years ago, those shots were fired, and we can still see them to this day. Shortly after Sherman's march to the sea, where he went to Savannah, he actually cut up north towards Columbia. Men and supplies from both sides are being reallocated further north. And Confederates actually abandoned ruinous Fort Sumter in February 1865. On April 9th, 1865 was the surrender at Appomattox Courthouse, and shortly after that, Major Robert Anderson was invited back to ceremoniously re-raise the same flag he lowered exactly 4 years prior, the one very similar to the one we see again today. But that event is actually overshadowed by something else that happened in American history, the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. If you think about it, it's kind of an odd sort of full circle to the Civil War. But that is not the end of Fort Sumter's history. As I mentioned with these cannons, there was a rearmament during the 1870s. There also was a lighthouse here in Fort Sumter. It would have been on that side corner over there. But between 1898 and 1899, this thing was built, Battery Isaac Huger. Think of it as a fort within a fort, because the outside walls of this fort really aren't a good way to defend our country. This is new, this is modern. The Army still owned this land, so they put it here. When it was built, it had two 12-inch breech-loading guns that could fire a 1,000-pound projectile about 8 miles. Those were there until 1943. At that point, they were scrapped for material for World War II, but this was still an active installation until 1947. At that point, fixed fortifications like this really aren't a good way to defend our country, what with the eventually atomic bomb and whatnot. And April 28, 1948, we became Fort Sumter National Monument. And in 2019, we became Fort Sumter and Fort Moultrie National Historical Park to greater encompass the over 171 years of seacoast defense history that our sites have to offer. While you're here, I encourage you to go out and ask questions. Myself, Ranger Alex, and our volunteer Jeff are more than happy to answer anything you may have. So again, take care, enjoy, and we're leaving at 25 after. Take care.
Thank you.